This says so much about our great country that you could be doing anything, like Congressman Woodall said, you could be doing anything on a Sunday, but you're here and you took the time to care about the country and about the community. And so thank you so much. I want to talk to you about a couple of different things today. Before I start to talk about Marcy's Law, I wanted to talk to you about a wonderful organization, a coalition in support of our president. How many of you support President Donald Trump? Let's give him a round of applause. I think he's doing a fantastic job. Well, I'm happy to be the state chairman of Women for Trump, and I would like to extend, first of all, a thank you very much from the President of the United States for your support. And we would love it if every single person in this room, especially the women, but if every single person in this room would join a coalition in support of our president, specifically Women for Trump. And we're going to be passing out a sign-up sheet. We also have a Facebook page called Georgia Women for Trump that's specific to our state. We have been having rallies across the state, and we're going to continue. We're going to be focusing from now until November on the general election in support of Brian Kemp for governor, and of course our entire Republican ticket, many of whom we have here with us today. So we want to work very hard for them now through November, and then as soon as November is over, we gear up for 2020. So we can't do this without everyone in this room, so thank you very much, and it's going to be an exciting year. So with that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Marcy's Law, which is a question that's going to be on the November ballot. But first I want to ask you, how many in this room have ever been the victim of a crime? It can be a small crime, like theft or even someone stealing change out of your car. How many of you have ever been the victim of any type of crime? I have. There are some jurisdictions, some areas in Georgia that are very, very good about getting back to you and taking you through all the steps of what happened to you as a victim, and others that have not worked so well. Georgia is only one of 15 states in the entire country that does not have constitutional protection for victims of crime. Every state that touches the state of Georgia has constitutional protections in their state constitution that protect you as a victim. Now, there are constitutional protections in the Georgia Constitution for criminals, for those who are accused, and we are not trying to do anything to belittle those rights. We want those to be in there. We know those are important, but we also feel that it's very right and very important for victims to be recognized in our Constitution as well. We're talking about basic rights. The right to know if the perpetrator, the person that committed the crime, is getting out on bail. The right to know when the trial is coming up, and the right to speak before the judge and give a victim impact statement, and the right to know when someone is coming up for parole and speak before the parole board. You would think that all of those things sound like very basic rights, but believe it or not, in the state of Georgia, those rights have only been statutory. They have not been in our Constitution. And I want to tell you a little story. In 1983, there was a 19-year-old girl. Her name was Marcy Nicholas, and she lived in California. She was a college student, an honors student, very involved in her school, very involved, very close with her family, very close with all of her church members, and involved in her community. Marcy unfortunately started dating somebody that wasn't that nice of a guy. And that man ended up abusing her on a regular basis. She didn't tell her family for a while, and the relationship went on. Until one day, his violence spun out of control, and he took her life. When her parents found out that she had been murdered, of course the person that perpetrated the crime was arrested, but Marcy's family went about planning her funeral. While they were in the planning stages, the person who committed the crime came to where they were doing the planning, and a accosted them and went on to harass them and stalk them for months before he was finally sentenced. He was not sentenced to life in prison. He was not given the death penalty. He was sentenced to a fairly small amount of time for the type of crime that he committed. He was coming up for parole about 10 years later, and her mother wanted to go and speak before the parole board. She wasn't allowed to, according to California law at the time. So she waited outside where the parole board was meeting and found out that he was getting off on parole. The stress from the situation was overwhelming to her. She had a heart attack and she passed away outside the parole board. She had a younger brother, who was 2 years younger than her, named Henry Nicholas, who became eventually Dr. Henry Nicholas, one of the inventors of broadband. He, over his lifetime, started a very large company that he eventually sold for a very large amount of money. He became a billionaire. And he devoted the rest of his life to victims' rights and fighting crime. And he formed an organization called Marcy's Law for All. And the purpose of Marcy's Law for All is to go across the entire country and make sure that each state has constitutional protection for victims of crime, so that what happened to his family won't happen to yours. And so what we are doing in Georgia is we are working to get this as part of our Constitution. In 2017, in the January through March session at the legislature, we passed the state Senate 50-4. So we passed the state Senate. And then this year, in January, we passed the state House unanimously. This is something that's very bipartisan, supported across party lines. So now we go to the November ballot, because in order for something to become a constitutional amendment, you have to vote on it. So we are going to be on the ballot this November. And we do not have the exact language of the ballot question yet. That will come from Governor Beal's office probably sometime between now and the first part of October. But there are no other questions that have to do with victims' rights. So we will be the only one having to do with this subject matter. And it will be something basic that says, do you believe that victims of crime deserve constitutional protection? And so we would ask you to please consider voting yes. And if for some reason you're not convinced that we need these constitutional protections, I'm going to give you my cell phone number and I will be glad to talk to you in detail as to why we need those protections. So I realize we're on a tight schedule and there are other speakers, so there are not really time for questions, but if you have any questions, I'll be around at the end. And also, if you need to call me and ask me any questions at all, my number is 404-798-4663. Again, 404-798-4663. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. God bless you and God bless this great country.
And I should have mentioned this earlier, but Emily with the ReplicParty campaign is in the back waiting. So if y'all want to get involved with that, you can get over and talk to her. I guess next we can, Ms. Dava, if you want to come on up. Hold on.
My priority would be another state like Canada, ReplicParty. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be with y'all this afternoon. My name is Tricia Pridemore, and I'm one of your Public Service Commissioners. I am elected statewide and work all across the state to manage not only the state's energy and energy infrastructure, but also utility companies, landline telephones, and railroads. consumer-driven agency. Our job is to make sure that we provide the lowest possible price for the best possible service across the state. My background is in technology, and it's part of the reason why I'm here today. I want to share with you a little bit about my history and some of the things that we do at the Public Service Commission. So thank you so much, Sonny. Thank y'all for organizing. I'm very grateful for your help. So my background, like I said, is in technology, and how that got started was my husband and I would sit in a carport of our home, and we would look to try to come up with an idea for a software product. We did that for about a year. We would whiteboard different ideas and come up with things that we thought we could go to market with. We had an idea, and we took that idea, created a business plan with it, started that business out of our spare bedroom, and 22 years ago, grew that business to be a supplier to companies like Delta Airlines, Walmart, and Bank of America. We were blessed to be able to sell that company 9 years later. The reason that I serve on the Public Service Commission and the reason that I work so hard for the state of Georgia is because I want every single one of us and our children and our grandchildren to be able to realize that same reality long after we're all here. See, this country is amazing in many respects, but the greatest of which is that it gives us the freedom and the opportunity that if we work hard, we do right by people, and we get a little bit of luck on the side, that we can be successful. So the Public Service Commission is it's a little bit of a technical job, as they say. I spend a lot of time looking at the way that we spend money and the way that we manage our energy infrastructure. But we also do a lot of work with constituents. We're a definite agency that's a friend to small business. If you own a small business, contact my office. I'd love to talk with you about the programs, the policies that we have to help you. We also do a lot for senior citizens. If you have a senior in your life that needs help with natural gas or with their landline telephone, please reach out to me. I would love to be of service to you. You can find me online at pridemorepsc.com. I've got fans and some cards out. You're welcome to them and yard signs. I'd love for you all to engage with our campaign. We travel to all 159 counties. And so it is a real blessing to be here today in Gwinnett. Thank you all very much.
Next, I have Renee Everman for Martin Zoller. Sorry, Martin Zoller. My apologies.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us today. I'm Martha Zoller. I'm the Chief Surrogate for Brian Kemp, and I'm the Outreach Director. We thank you so much for inviting us today. It is going to be a very, very busy couple of months. I wanted to quickly introduce Joanna Mejia. If she'll raise her hand, she is the intern that's going to be working this area. And we're going to be hanging around if you have any questions. We've got business cards and some materials. And we also have an office that's going to be open, a Victory office that's going to be open in Swanee in Town Center, so in Swanee. So I hope that you'll be involved there. But you know, I came to this, I'm a lifelong Georgian and have been involved with Brian Kemp for a very long time as far as helping him with his Secretary of State race, with his Senate race, and also in some of his small businesses. And he is a guy that you can count on. He is a guy that's going to put Georgians first, knows how to build a business, knows how to make it work. There is a clear distinction in this race. Do your homework. There is a very big difference between the two candidates that are running for governor. And it'll be very clear when you do your research what that difference is. Brian Kemp wants to cut regulations. He wants to continue doing the things that Governor Deal and Governor Perdue have done that have made this the #1 state to do business in for the last 5 years. He also is a family man. He's got 3 teenage daughters and a beautiful wife named Marty. And we hope that you all will be a part of this campaign and also give us your support. I jokingly say this, but it's true. Friends don't let friends go out and vote by themselves. We want you to get your friends and neighbors to get out there and vote because turnout is essential in this race. We're going to continue to stay here throughout all these speeches, and we'll be talking to you afterwards. I have business cards that I can give you. We have other information, And of course, Joanna's going to stay around too. We appreciate very much your support in this race, and we humbly ask for your vote for Brian Kemp for Georgia. Thank you.
If Brian Kemp does well, that benefits everybody down there. And so it's very, very important that Brian Kemp wins and win by as large a margin as we think that we can do. If he wins by 10 points, that means there'll be drop off as you go down the list. Not everybody will vote for everybody. But if he wins by 55-45 or better, then that will almost guarantee that everybody down ticket for the statewide walls as well. And so I appreciate all the work you're doing for Brian, and it's very important for us. Next, I want to introduce Rosanna Sabo. She has a similar position in Gwinnett County in the sense that she is the only county-wide local candidate. And the better that she does, the better will be for our county commission candidates, the better will be for our state house candidates, the better will be for our school board candidates. And it's all handled over.
Good afternoon, everyone, and hello. Hi. Thank you. At this time of year, we need all the love that you care to give, so I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate Sunny for putting together this wonderful program. Thank you so much for doing this and helping us to inform our constituency, inform the public about these very important elections, because a lot of voters go to the polls and they're not very well informed, and they tend to vote for partisanship or identity politics, and they really don't know what they're doing. They're just voting for an R or voting for a D. So you've heard from candidates that, from Rob Woodall, who goes to Washington under the Capitol Dome. You've heard from Governor or Secretary Kemp running for governor, who's going to go to the Gold Dome, and I go to the courthouse. So I'm one of your representatives in the Gwinnett County Courthouse. And they say all politics is local, right? And you're more likely to have to deal with someone like me than you are to have to deal with someone like Rob Woodall or Brian Kemp. So if I'm doing a good job for you, you're going to know it. And if I'm not doing a good job for you, you're going to know it. And you're probably going to know it real fast. So I'm the County Solicitor General. You do not have to salute. But I am actually a prosecuting attorney. Okay, so we prosecute, like the district attorney for misdemeanors, we prosecute cases, misdemeanor crimes in state court and county ordinance violations in reporter's court. And we are your high volume prosecutor. So we prosecute 8,000 to 10,000 cases a year in state court and 70,000 to 110,000 citations a year in Gwinnett County Recorder's Court. We have to do it efficiently and effectively. So we've touched on a lot of subjects with many of these candidates, and they all have something to do with what I do. So you heard from Julianne about Marcy's Law and crime victims' rights. Well, we deal with crime victims, and we have a victim assistance program. And we have victim advocates in each one of our trial divisions to provide notification to our victims in our cases when the cases are coming up for court, to take victim impact statements from them, to deliver the victim impact statement to the judge if the victim chooses not to come to court, to assist them when they do come to court to provide a victim impact statement. We assist them with victim compensation from the state of Georgia, provides victim compensation in a variety of different ways. We assist them with restitution, getting money from the defendant when they're sentenced to pay them back for their losses, okay? And we provide assistance with counseling, we provide assistance with safety planning, and we provide assistance for resources. So if a person, for example, a domestic violence victim needs housing, we assist them with shelter locations. If they even need shelter for their dogs, we have IMSA House in DeKalb County that we help them get housing for their dogs. Okay, so we help victims in need in a variety of different ways. It's a state certified victim assistance program from the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, CJCC, and it's only one of 2 certified victim assistance programs in Gwinnett County. Solicitor's Office and District Attorney's Office, and we have staff committed to providing these services to our crime victims. You heard from Rob Woodall about taxes and lowering taxes. You know what? I have something to do with that too. I don't get to tell you what your county taxes are, but you know what? I spend your money. I get a budget, and it's your money I am spending. And I do it in a very conservative way. I am about fiscal responsibility. Is there anybody here who thinks that I ought to spend every single penny that you give me to run that office and then ask for more? Oh, nobody thinks that? Good, because I don't think that either. So every year that I have been solicitor, I have returned money to the general fund. I do not spend every penny you give me. I spend it as if it were my own. And you know, I don't think that that often happens, because you know what the policy is when you're an agency of the state or an agency of the county. Spend every penny you got, because if you don't, then they won't give you it next year. And so I've come from that kind of situation. In October, you look at your budget and you say, well, we better start spending this, because if we get to the end of the fiscal year, there's no money left, they won't give us any more. When I got elected, I decided not to be that person. And the first year that I was elected, I returned $300,000 to the general fund. And every year since then, I've returned more and more and more. And you know how much I'm going to give back this year? I'm going to give back $1 million. So you give me $6, I'll give you back $1 million. My opponent thinks that money should be spent, and he's got plans to spend it and more. It's not necessary. We run a very efficient and effective office. Very efficient. The employees that I have, 59 employees. I have 15, they're yours. They work for you as I do, work for you. These are public servants. If they're in it for the money, they're in the wrong job. They need to go find a job in the private sector if it's about the money. Our job is about providing service to the citizens. And I require that from the employees in the office. And those that don't feel the same way, move on. And that's okay by me. Because you know what? I've never had a loss of applicants. When we post a job, we get hundreds of applicants, and I get my pick of the crop. So we never are without good qualified employees. And when I hire them, I look for qualifications. And I hope that when you hire me and you vote for solicitor, qualifications matter. Because you know what? I'm the most experienced Solicitor General in the state of Georgia, bar none. Okay? Now my good friend in Cobb County, Barry Morgan, he's pretty close. But actually, he started in the DA's office, as did I, but he stayed in the DA's office longer. I started in a solicitor's office before he did. And I worked my way up through the ranks. I didn't show up and say, hey, vote for me for Solicitor General, because I want to be the head honcho. I worked my way up through the ranks. I started as an assistant, and I worked there for 10 years as an assistant. Then I became the chief assistant. I earned that stripe. And I was the chief assistant for 8 years. And then I said, I've got 18 years of experience. I know how to do this now. Now I can ask you to trust me, because I've proven and shown you that I am trustworthy. 18 years, and then I asked you to vote for me. Now I've been the solicitor for 12. And I ask you, please, this can go sideways real quick if you put a novice in this job. If you put a novice in this job, it can go off the tracks fast. So please, I hope experience matters to you, just as if you were hiring an employee. If you needed open heart surgery, would you go to a general practitioner, or would you go to a heart surgeon? I'm the subject matter expert in this field. I am the subject matter expert. So I ask you, please, for your vote in November. On your table, I need more than your vote, though. We need you to get out there and put some shoe rubber to the road. On your table, if you have a sign location for me, put an address on there. We'll deliver the signs. Especially if you know locations that are on major thoroughfares, highways. If you want to grab some push cards or door hangers on the way out and knock on 10 or 20 doors, that can be very, very helpful. Because I want to remind you all, the most qualified person ever to run for Gwinnett County Chairman, Charlotte Nash, won by the skin of her teeth 2 years ago for no good reason. She should have won by a landslide, but it was close. And the reason it was close was nothing more than identity politics, period. They were not voting for, those people who didn't vote for her were not voting for the most qualified person. So this is gonna be a fight every year. We can't sit on our behinds and think that, Gwinnett County's gonna be Republican and they're always gonna vote. No, it ain't like that anymore. It's gonna be a fight every time. So I ask you please to, not just for your vote, but get 10 people to go vote. Knock on doors, hang door knockers on your street. I appreciate that. Let us know if you got a signed location. Just leave the cards on the table when you leave and we'll pick them up when you go. But I really appreciate you, and it has been the privilege of my life to serve you, the citizens of Gwinnett County, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
Next, I have County Commissioner Lynette Howard. Lynette, go here.
We have a representative of Vietnamese Republicans here. Where you choose? Will you come here to give us a talk? Give us a couple minutes talk. Come here, please. She's working tirelessly with the Republicans, really good person. Actually, we were classmates, right? Some of us we were classmates, and we studied in the grassroots leadership training for several sections. Okay, yes, your time.
Well, we need to thank Sunny. This is wonderful. A great place to start. So what she asked me to do is just a couple of real quick, what I did, why am I doing this, and what's in the future. So I started getting involved. Actually started in 2016. I started by attending the Gwinnett GOP convention, the district convention, and went all the way up to the state convention. The reason why I did that is because I want to know what's going on, how do we get involved, learn the rules and regulations, because, that's how we can engage. And so, you all can do it. It's very easy. Just sign up, and the people are going to be along the way to help you get involved. Once you know how, and it's so easy, then you will be empowered to do what Sunny and I and a lot of other people do. We need to help each other here. This is home. I was not born and raised here like most of you, but this is home for me for 30 years and maybe more. My children are here. They're born and raised here. So this is as home as can be. And we want to keep Gwinnett great, keep Georgia great. That's really the reason why I do it. So what am I doing next? We're basically doing a lot of campaign walk. We do door knocks. We call. We make phone calls. We show up at meetings like this. And then when we do that, then the candidates will get to know us. And then they'll pay attention to us. But in return, we need to vote. If we just show up and don't vote and then encourage people to, then our voice will be too slow. So please, get your friends to come out and vote. There's a couple of, if you have other functions in your community, please pass it on to the candidates. Invite them to come. They would love to come. Trust me, that's more effective for you, for the candidates, and so hope you all can keep going. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. And our next speaker is the beautiful lady, Korean, Miss Park, Chom Park. Okay, let's give her a warm welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I just want to share with you, we have, each one has $1 million. You want to use it right now? You have to come, get the vote, that's, you can spend it on $1 million. Don't you think? Yes, you have each one $1 million value things, but you're not using. And you can use it for your children, your child, for yourself, but you have to come up and then use that money. And then that's what we can do. Look it up in here. I do what I can do. I support the mat reading, and I translate into the Korean language, and I do the postal card, and the flyer, and the poster, and then I can, the share with the white people. And so you can do your language too, I think. And the Rob Woodall asking me to postcard, too. And so you can do whatever you can do. You can ask, go to your neighbor and then use the $1 million, or you can come and then we can talk and then we can share all the information. Thank you so much, Sunnyone. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we are going to get to the third section. The third, is there any other special guest is not talked yet? Are we done with that part? Okay. Okay. Our next section is our Chinese Americans for Trump. And actually, I was planning to talk in Chinese, so have a better communication with all you guys. But I can start with a little English now. We are Chinese Americans for Trump. We are in Georgia starting October in 2016. At that time, we all woke up to support Mr. Now it's President Trump. And then we did lots of things. We did lots of things together. And then last year, we went to support Karen Handel. And this year, we start to support in the midterm election. So we have people working tirelessly, and then we even want to get people involved, get the neighbor involved, get the friends involved, and wake up our Asian people, and wake up our Chinese people to be involved in the political world. And some of us says, I don't care about political, and I just live my life. But in USA, if you don't care about the politics, and then political is going to be involved with your life. Like Texas, just now we heard about that, and then we heard about the safety, public safety, and then we heard about the employment and also appearance, and we are really worried about the marijuana legalized. And we are worried about the same-sex marriage it happened to your family. So there's lots of issues it's affecting our daily lives. Okay, and I want to say is, actually I have lots of things to say, but I want to make it just brief. Just now was briefly tell you where we come from. And our organization is, even it's not organization, it's a movement. And there's a not registered, and then we don't have leaders. We don't have anybody have any position. And we are just grassroots volunteers, grassroots activists. And we are doing this is from our heart. And then we are doing this and we don't get paid. Nobody pay us. And then we spend our time and we do it just do volunteer works. And I think we are doing this, lots of people woke up, lots of people join us and to join our movement. So I think when 2016, that time, we had about 160 people. But among them are about 50 over outstate people. So our own people that time in Georgia, I guess, is around 100. But then after a couple of years, and now we grow up, I think now we are over 600 people now. We have different, now we are working on the communities. Like we have Cobb County have a group, as Johns Creek has a group, Alvarado has a group, and also 7th district, the congressional 7th district, right here, we have a big group. And also we have people in where? We have a group in Peachtree cities. So they all drove all the way to here. And today I saw a whole bunch of them here. And so I want to let you know, our effort is not one person's effort. And just now I heard a lot of people praise on me. Actually, I didn't have time to talk to them. I want to let everybody know. I didn't do that much. Everything is everybody put their efforts together. We have lots of volunteers work tirelessly to set up this event. And then we have people behind day and night, and they either fought in like a WeChat group, and they let people to know what's the not the fake against the fake news, and let people to know what our beliefs, and let people know why we need to be involved in political world. So lots of people doing that, and lots of people like a middle voter, independents, and they joined us. And then they slowly change their mind. They think, oh, it makes sense, because the Republican, our Chinese value, our traditional Chinese value is so close to the Republican conservative.